Well, greetings, viewers and voyeurs. I was recently watching a video by my good friend Bionic Dance about what she would like to do if she had a time machine. And, it was a pretty tongue-in-cheek video, and I loved it, actually, Kate. And in your video, you said you'd rather spend much more time going to the future, and honey, I am right with you on that level. I would definitely, if I had a time machine, I'm not even sure if I would bother going to the past. But your video sort of sparked a little impulse in me because when I was a kid, I used to give this kind of thing a thought all the time, about the past anyway. What would I change if I could go back to the past? Would I change anything? Because when I was a little guy, I watched this episode of Star Trek called, I think it's called The City on the Edge of Forever. And long story short, for those of you who've never seen it, they go back through a portal into the 1930s and discover that if this particular person lives, that the Nazis will end up winning World War II, and the whole of human history, therefore, will change as a result. So they have to allow this person to die so that World War II unfolded the way history shows it unfolded. Fine. And that sort of set my little brain at the age of 6 on the train that, hey, if you change one thing about the past, the whole future might be different. In fact, would be different. And, it boggles the mind when you think about this sort of thing. However, so let's just assume that you're willing to sacrifice your own life and that you're on a mission. Your goal is to go back in time and change one thing about human history. One thing. What one thing would you change for the benefit of mankind? Now, in Kate's video, again, it was quite tongue-in-cheek, but, she mentioned that she would go back and say, stop 9/11 because that really sucked. And man, I hear you. There's a huge part of me that would like to just go back to 9/11 and say it never happened. And wonder what the past 10 years would have been like if that never happened. It doesn't even bear thinking about because everything's been different since then. Anyway, I wouldn't do that. I'd go back further, and I wouldn't go back and prevent Hitler from being born or rising to power or whatever, because that's only going to save, 20, 25 million people or something like that. And if I'm going to do something for the benefit of mankind, which is going to cost me my own life, I want a lot higher price for it than 25 million people. I want to save more. So, Kate's idea about going back and preventing the crucifixion from happening, I've given that some thought as well. But you know what? They can keep their fucking religion as far as I'm concerned. They can have their Jesus. And the same with Muhammad. I wouldn't prevent Muhammad from being born or from receiving his revelation or whatever. I wouldn't prevent those religions from, taking root, whatever. People are going to be religious. Whether or not those two guys ever existed, people are still going to be religious on one level or another. So, what would I do? Well, again, knowing full well that this would cost me my own existence, what I would do would be to go back to China, I suppose, and prevent gunpowder from ever being conceived or invented. Because if you think about it, with the invention of gunpowder eventually came the invention of guns, and then cannons, and then bombs, and all manner of explosives and firearms. And okay, once upon a time, you could still kill people with arrows and catapults and such things from a long distance, but pretty much back in the day, you had to kill people with your bare hands or with implements that you had held in your bare hands. And so killing was a messy, messy business. It was a personal business. Warfare was personal. You had to be very aggressive. You had to have an awful lot to gain from going to war. And even if you didn't get killed outright, just getting injured in a battle in hand-to-hand combat could kill you eventually from infection and whatever back in those days. So, the deterrent against war was pretty high because people had to actually get off their butt and do it themselves. So, and it also occurs to me that with the invention of firearms and then later on with explosives and bombs and whatever, the ability to kill people from a distance, those distances have been getting greater and greater. And it strikes me that the greater the distance is between the person who's doing the killing and the person who's being killed, the less conscience is necessary on the part of the person doing the killing to do that killing. So yeah, I would get rid of explosives, firearms, gunpowder. I would stop the invention of gunpowder altogether. That would be my contribution to human history. If you had to sacrifice your own life for the benefit of mankind by going back and changing something in human history, what would you change? Let me know in a text comment or a video response. I would be fascinated to hear what you got to say. Got That Funk here. Thanks for watching, and may all your ups and downs be ups.